All right, so the first thing I want to do is kind of walk through the scripts. I want to talk about the fruit movement script, the game manager script, the cannon movement script, etc. So the fruit movement script is fairly simple. I am setting the gravity scale randomly depending on when a fruit loads in the world, right? Because I don't want them to fall at the same speed. That's what this line is for. So if y'all want to use that in your code, you can. That just sets gravity scale from the rigid body 2D. I'm also finding the game manager because I can't make it public and assign the game manager because this is a prefab. So I need to find the game manager. So I'm using this reference that's GameObject.find game manager. If the position is less than -7, I'm going to destroy that game object, right? And I'm also going to adjust the score. That means a fruit has fallen from the sky, and I didn't hit it. If I didn't hit it, I'm going to reduce my score by 5, right? In fact, at this point, it might be helpful to show you guys what sort of project I'm working on, so y'all can see what this looks like. And this is what we have. We have a game where I turn a cannon and fire at fruit. And when the fruit destroys, my score increases, and that's what that looks like. So you can see, and if I miss a fruit, it's going to reduce my score by 5. Y'all can see that happening right there, right? And I want to eventually, scalability-wise, I can make a game where if I get below a certain score, I fail the game. And if I get to a certain score, I win the game, And that depends on how hard or how easy you want to set your game. But y'all can see what's happening, right? So hopefully y'all understand the purpose of this game. Let's step back into the script again. So y'all can see, before I step into the script, that different fruit is falling at different speeds, and I did that by changing gravity scale. And you'll notice this is kind of a twist on physics. If I was to drop a paper clip and a piece of paper, or a rock and whatever, assuming that wind shear has nothing to do with it, if I drop two objects with different masses on the planet, they both fall at the same rate at the ground at the same time. So we're tricking physics here for the purpose of this gameplay looking normally. And by the way, I'm totally losing now because I wasn't really playing my game. But y'all can see how that looks. So I did that here in this fruit falling script by adjusting gravity scale. And y'all can see that. And y'all can see that the score is reducing as it goes, adjusting to the game manager script. Which helps us then to step into the game manager script. In our game manager script side, we have, to check this out on line 9, we have an array, right? I've set up an array that's called fruit prefabs. And I'm going to use that array to spawn different items in the world. So I have fruit prefabs, which is an array, and I'm going to call that. If you look at this line of code right here on line 18, this is where I populate my array. Well, how do I populate my array? Right? What's happening? I've instantiated the array, or declared the array, I should say, on line 9. I'm instantiating the array on line 18, and I'm instantiating that array by looking at a resources folder and looking at a subfolder called fruit, and every game object in that subfolder gets instantiated into the world, right? So let's jump in there and look at this real quick from the start side. Let's jump back into the game real quick and see what that looks like. Here we have our project files. Here's assets. Here's our resources folder. So you must create the resources folder to make this work, right? It's a function of Unity to allow us to pull in prefabs. There's resources, and us have a subfolder called fruit that's being called from the script. Now let's say I wanted a new fruit. Well, let's jump in and do that real quick. I'm just going to hop out there in the world, and I'm going to find another fruit, right? And let me go ahead and grab another fruit. What kind of fruit would I like to get? I want to get a, I don't know, does cake count as a fruit? Do y'all agree cake count? No? Okay. All right, we're going to grab a lemon, right? I'm going to download that, and I'm going to drag the lemon into the world, into the images, and you can see there's my lemon. I'm going to put it up here into the thing. I'm going to rename this as a lemon because that's a ridiculous name right there. I'm just going to name this as a lemon, and I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to add a rigid body, 2D, and I'm going to add a box collider, 2D, right? Or a polygon collider, whatever you really want there. I'm going to attach the script. I'm going to attach the script from the fruit falling. So I'm going to click on my script. I'm going to attach fruit movement over here. Cool. So it's ready to go. Right? I got the box collider, everything else working. Last thing I need to do is tag this as a fruit. So I'm going to go and tag it as a fruit. Right? Cool. Then I can just drag this lemon and put it into my prefab, into my fruits folder under resources here, right? There it is. Nice and good to go, right? So when I run my game, what I want you to see is that fruit is huge, right? So let's fix that real quick by adjusting the size of my lemon, right? So you can see it's scaled at 1. My strawberry is scaled at 0.25. So let's go ahead and scale that lemon back to 0.25, right? And I'm going to go ahead and run that, and we can see that now the lemon will be sized correctly. Nice. Okay. Gravity scale is kind of wonky, right? But we'll come back to that in a bit, right? I'm going to go ahead and delete this. But what I want you to see now is when I run the game, right, and I click on my game manager, you can see that my fruit prefabs has 6 items, and lemon is one of the items. And whatever I add to that prefabs folder will be automatically brought into that array. And that's what we're looking for here. So let's jump back into the script and talk about the rest of the script. So I populate the array there. It loads items from the resources folder, from the resource folder. I set it for fruit subfolder. And then I ask it every time. First of all, I change the score, right, which is part of our TextMesh Pro U GUI. Remember? I change the score based on what's happening. If the length of the array of items tagged with fruit is 0, then I change the level, and then I'm instantiating a certain number of fruit in the world. So this is my iteration, and we'll come back to talk about that more later on when I do my PPR reference, because I think I need to modify this a bit for College Board. But at least I have basically a list, an array. I have instantiated an array. I've declared my array right here, right? And I have this declared my array. This is where I populate my array. And this is what they want to see on the College Board. You have a declared array and a populated array in your script. All right. Let's talk about cannon movement real quick. Y'all can see that I have the cannon moving when I run this. The cannon turns left and right. Right, y'all can see that happening, right? Now, what's interesting is the movement of this cannon is kind of weird. I don't want to dig into a lot of what I did to make this work. If you want to know more about it, you can look this up. But I use basically Euler angles to make this happen correctly, as far as making it make sense on the screen. Y'all can look more into that, but this is more for showing off the list than anything else. So, but this is the script for the cannon rotation. I also changed the rotation of the projectile based on where the cannon was rotated to, so the projectile moved in the right direction. And I have here a reference, a pass parameter that affects things in my code. It changes the flow of control. That pass parameter is important for the College Board. So at least here, I should at least talk about this passed parameter. All right, and finally, projectile movement. Projectile movement, basically, I just add movement until it moves out. So I'm using add force to do that, to transform up dot times speed. Using add force to make that happen. If it gets above 20, destroy the projectile. If it hits fruit, increase the score by 10. Destroy the projectile and the fruit. That's what I wanted to show you. I wanted you to have this script available. At least you can see it on screen, so you could use it in your game possibly. You must have an array in your game for the purposes of the College Board, the array counts as a list. It is not a list technically in computer science land, but it functions as a collection of elements, which is what the College Board looks for and look for a list. So please use something like this in your game, and we will talk more about the PPR document and how I can make my project meet the PPR shortly. All right, that's all I wanted to say, and I will post this video today.